Greetings, Bat Family, and welcome to Holy BatCast, brought to you by real fans for real movies. You can find us all over social media on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Just search for Holy BatCast, you'll find us. And if you're a big fan of the show and you want to support us, you can do so on Patreon. You can go to patreon.com/holybatcast. No pressure. We know you don't have to do it. We're going to keep doing the show regardless. But for those of you who have done it, gone that extra step to support us, to just show us how much you appreciate the show, it really does mean the world. It helps us out so much. So big thank you to our patrons. You guys are awesome. We're a proud part of the Real Fans Podcast Network. You can check out those shows at rf4rm.com. And as always, I'm Andy DiGenova. You can find me on Instagram, Blue Sky, and Letterboxd. It's just my name, Andy DiGenova. Now, we've been talking about a lot of Superman recently, which is fair because we have a big movie coming up in like 5.5 weeks or so, something like that, which is exciting. And I was like, well, we got to talk something a little Batman. And so we found a way to do both. It's going to be Batman and Superman. We're going to look back at the 2010 animated film, Superman, Batman, Apocalypse. So we get some Superman, we get some Supergirl, but we also still get some Batman. We're also going to review the next episode of The Batman because we've been on a streak and I want to keep it going. And joining me for all that fun, it's my Bat brother out there in Indiana. He's back. It's Jamie Drewley. Hey, Jamie.
What's going on, everybody?
You know, summer has begun. You're playing pickleball. We're sweating our butts off in Florida. It is just the way it is.
I've joined the ranks of the elderly. AARP sends me stuff in the mail. I play pickleball. It's official. I'm old.
I get emails from AARP that's like, join now. And I was like, how about you settle down? I'm not there yet. I don't know why I'm on your mailing list, but settle the F down.
So speaking of this, what was that movie you said was coming out? Superman. Superman.
Yeah. He's from Krypton. I don't know if you knew that.
Fantastic. Wait, nice lay in there. Did I see the other day that early tracking, which of course you can never really trust that, but is somewhere between 150 and 174 for opening weekend?
That is what they are saying right now. Yes.
That's pretty stout.
I mean, I'm knocking on my wooden desk right here. That is incredibly good. If that holds, it will be the biggest opening of the summer so far. And so, yeah, it's looking really good, but I don't want to jinx it. So I'm trying not to get excited.
Well,
but
I don't want to jinx it either, but I also want to mention, as fantastic as that sounds, I'm way less worried about opening weekend as I am, say, I don't know, weekend 5.
Sure.
That's kind of the important one, you know?
Yeah, that makes sense.
How long can it hang on, especially with the competition you're carrying through the summer? And apparently everybody but me has decided to go back to the movie theater this year. I don't know what's happened. So.
Yeah, we've got a nice little rebound with the summer here. But if it lands on the high end of those estimates, that will be the biggest opening for a DC movie ever.
Really?
Because I think
BVS
still holds the record at 166.
I thought BVS cracked 180 for some reason.
No, sir, 166. Okay. Well, yeah. So I think that's still number one. Because like Dark Knight Rises was like 150. Dark Knight was, I think, right around there too, 150. So I think it's still BVS at 166.
It's weird. It's weird how we've had to adjust our perspective on box office since the whole pandemic thing happened.
No kidding.
It used to be, it's like, you know, if something was south of 200 on opening weekend, you barely paid any attention to it. And now it's like, if it crosses like 125, we're all like, holy crap, it's a success.
Yeah, the bar has definitely changed post-pandemic. Well, and not to mention, you know, not to go on a whole tangent, but not to mention like the worldwide grosses, that bar has changed too, because so fewer American movies are opening in China. And China was always that wild card that could push something past $1 billion much easier. And fewer American movies are getting released there. And the ones that are getting released, fewer of them are making what they used to. And so you can't count on that China market anymore, which means passing $1 billion is a lot harder than it was 5 years ago.
Yeah, I still haven't forgiven the Chinese audiences for hating Star Wars. So,
well, that's fair. You know, there's no accounting for taste. So anyway, I mean, ironically, I saw Rise of Skywalker in China.
You and like two other people.
Yeah, it was a rainy night in Shanghai. I remember. Anyway, so yes, estimates are looking good. It is still, there's still 5.5 weeks to go, but that's just based on the last trailer, which is why I still believe there will be another trailer between today and just July 11th. I think that will happen. I think what will be the tickets are on sale trailer, as you so uh, cleverly pointed out when we reviewed the last trailers. You're like, I think there's another one because this one didn't say tickets on sale. So I think
Yeah.
that's still to come.
I'm so torn. It's like I don't want another trailer. I'm like I'm in a good spot because I know enough about what I'm going to see and not very much about what I'm going to see at the same time. And that's kind of my sweet spot for going into a movie. I've really developed that taste in recent years. Thanks to guys like Mark Gottlieb and Guy Milks to watch movies ice cold where I don't even have a synopsis for it. Like that's how
Yeah.
I watched Companion, and boy,
Yeah.
did I enjoy that. I like that movie so much. I watched it twice in one day. I watched it once by myself, and I watched it once with my wife that night.
Nice.
So
Yeah.
so I like being underinformed, and
It is
I feel like
nice.
that's where I'm at right now in this
Yeah.
movie, and I don't want that to get messed up.
Well, I feel like it's interesting, and we talked about it with the last trailer, is they keep releasing things to remind us. So that way it's always part of the conversation without just it being trailer, 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 TV spot, TV
Mm-hmm.
spot. So this week, I don't know if you saw it, they released this little behind the scenes thing
Him
where,
with the kids,
yeah,
yeah, that was fantastic. I
of
loved
David
it.
Corn Sweat working with the kids for a particular scene in the movie and him just playing with the kids. And it was like, a minute. It was very short, but it was really sweet. It was really cute. He's so likable. Him and the kids, it was adorable. And it's like, oh, great. You're not giving away anything, but this is just a cool little extra thing, to help promote the movie.
And it's weird because it's a behind the scenes thing, but did that not feel like the most Superman thing you've ever seen?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
I mean that was great. So I've talked about it over the years, and I can't remember the issue number now, but there was a uh, I can't remember if it was a Justice League or a Superman comic toward the beginning of Rebirth, and basically the whole thing was just the Justice League hanging out with these kids for a day, like
Mm.
they were going to the Watchtower and hanging out, and one of the other Justice Leaguers, like maybe Green Arrow, said, you can't get Batman to laugh. So this kid whispers a joke in Batman's ear and he just laughs. And it was such a heartfelt and amazing thing. There wasn't a single punch thrown. There wasn't any, dramatic element to it. It was just, a very human, very sweet, very heartwarming thing in that book. So anytime I see, actors or even on screen or off screen, behind the scenes, whatever, doing that kind of thing, it really works for me.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a very smart release because it was so sweet. And like, you've got to be pretty darn cynical to not just watch that and go, oh, that's adorable.
Yeah, I mean, he was telling the one kid about how he met Cookie Monster or something like
Yes.
that.
Yeah. I met Cookie
It was
Monster once when I
it
was
was
little.
wonderful,
Yeah.
wonderful, just wonderful.
Very nice. So and yeah, so like they're keeping the promotion going without giving it all away, which is great. So the toys are out there on shelves. I got one right here. I posted it on the Holy BatCast because I just couldn't resist. So my hype is high when I start buying the toys.
Yeah, yeah. And the one guy that I work with, he kind of, I shouldn't call him a casual fan because he watches like most of the superhero stuff, and he's not like a comic reader or a toy collector or anything like that. He's, a video game guy, but he's really only into the movies as far as superhero stuff is concerned. He came up to me at work the other day. He's like, "Hey, I know you wanted to see it, so I don't know if you want to see it, but like," and he pulls this picture up on his phone, and it's the toy with Lex in the power suit. I'm like, you know what?
Mm,
I would be super hyped about that if they didn't have almost that exact same setup when BBS came out.
right, right. Did you see the set that I bought?
Yes, the Yeti like
There's a
creature.
freaking Yeti. There's a freaking Yeti. That Yeti better be in the damn movie, or I want my money back.
Well, I think we talked about this a little bit in the group chat with Brendan and Eric and Joe. I feel like that's going to be, the Fortress of Solitude appears to be a very fully developed set piece in this movie.
Yeah.
Probably more so than previous iterations. So I feel like we're going to have like, I don't know what to call it. So I mean, just for lack of a better term to use, the zoo for the alien life forms that he's going to have
Ah,
inside of there. I think that's going to be one of the creatures in for that.
right. It could be. We shall see. Anyway, regardless, the toy is really damn cool. I'm looking at it
It
right
is.
now. Love it. Anyway, all right. Well, there you go. There's your Superman promotion update as we get closer and closer to July 11th.
I
Um,
can't speak for you, but I'm ready for this movie.
oh my God, me too. Cannot wait. Super psyched. Me and Dilb got our plans. He's coming in. We're going opening night. I can't wait.
Well, I'm sure I've told you, but I'm so fed up with going to the movies and the prices and everything else that I'll go see Superman in the theater. I'm probably not going to set foot in a theater again. I might go see Superman more than once, but I probably won't go see another movie again until Supergirl,
Mm.
because that's how broken with movie theaters I am now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, if anyone can get you there, it's DC.
Yeah, that does seem to be the case.
Well, alrighty. Let's talk about an older Superman movie that also does include our beloved Batman and some others, which we'll talk about. So it is time to turn the clock back 15 years, or just about 15 years, and we're going to talk about the animated film Superman Batman Apocalypse. This was released in September of 2010. So we are close to celebrating the 15th anniversary, September 28th of 2010. It was written by Tab Murphy, directed by Laurent Montgomery. I'll just say this right now before I forget. I miss Laurent Montgomery. I feel like she directed some of the very best of the animated films, and I miss her. I know she's still working in the industry, but she's not doing DC anymore, but she was great. It's based on the Supergirl from Krypton by Jeff Loeb and drawn by Michael Turner. And this one is cool because it's a bit of a DC animated universe reunion. So you've got Kevin Conroy as Batman, you've got Tim Daly as Superman, you've got Susan Eisenberg as Wonder Woman, directed by Andrea Romano. So it's a little bit of a bringing the gang back together. We've also got Andre Braugher as Darkseid, Summer Glau as Kara Zor-El, who eventually is Supergirl, Ed Asner as Granny Goodness, also from the DCAU. So we will share, I guess, I don't know if you have any memories of Superman Batman Apocalypse, but if you do, now would be the time, Jamie.
I remember having bought it pretty soon after it came out and watching it and having enjoyed it, but I probably seen it a total of like 4 times, and I don't think I've watched it in probably close to 10 years now. So
Wow.
I had, pretty good memories of the things that I liked about it. Usually that's kind of how it works when you haven't visited something in a while. The things that seem, permanently ingrained in your brain are the things you really like and the things you really don't.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't have a lot. There was one thing that I'm definitely going to address when we get there that I absolutely hate about this movie, and I have since the very beginning. But there are also a few things that I really love about this movie and have since the very beginning. But it
Ooh,
was
interesting.
nice getting back to revisit. I don't know how deep you want to jump into it at this point, but I feel like there was an amazing movie here, and what we got was, it was fine.
Oh, very interesting. Well, I remember purchasing this when it came out in 2010, and I remember watching it the night it came out in 2010. And my memory of it was fine. I only remembered like one or two scenes from it, and I had not watched it until or since then. So I'd only ever seen it once until today. And it was interesting because it was like rewatching it for the first time. And I don't know if I want to get ahead of myself, but um, I have a lot of thoughts. But maybe you can go first because you
Okay.
already were starting to get there.
So, I mean, obviously the voice cast, I mean, superb. You couldn't really have asked for anything better here, I don't think. Daly and Conroy and Eisenberg. I mean, what else can you say there that even needs to be said at this point? I think Andre Braugher as Darkseid was pretty inspired. I really like his Darkseid a lot. Uh, Ed Asner as Granny Goodness, and kind of the same thing there. I like visiting with a couple of the other characters that get brought in. I like going to Themyscira and Apocalypse and Smallville and Metropolis. You Gotham a little bit. So you get a lot of set changes, if you will. A lot of that's very enjoyable. They kind of do the breakdown of these, at the beginning, talking about these kryptonite meteors that have been coming in, and I love that they're talking about Batman kind of like taking care of it, and then he kind of went back into the darkness, and they hadn't heard from him, and then all of a sudden, as the radio show's talking about it, one of them hits in, what is it, Gotham Harbor, I presume,
Yeah.
and Batman's like right on top of it. Like within a minute of this thing crashing into the harbor, he's out there investigating. So it's like, that feels very Batman to me, that he's that much on top of it, probably in the cave monitoring this thing as it's getting ready to enter the atmosphere, sort of a thing. So very, very well done in that regard. Introducing Kara in the way that they did. I've read some Supergirl stuff over the years. I've seen movies and cartoons and things like that, but I can't remember an origin that played quite the way that this one does. So I don't know if we credit the story that you said Jeff Loeb wrote it,
Jeff
right?
Loeb, yeah.
Which I think he's a great writer anyway. And Michael Turner illustrated it.
Correct.
Man, that guy was a severe loss, man. That great artist.
I think he had already passed when this came out, because I feel like there was like a featurette honoring him and talking about how they tried to do their best to pay homage to his style in the animation. And I think they do a very good job, where you can definitely see it, even if it's not one for one. And I really love the look of this movie, because they definitely took inspiration from Michael Turner's artwork.
I like more about the look of it than I don't. There's a few gripes that I have, but I find that when you're trying to copy a style, a lot of times you'll have that. So I kind of have to let it go a little bit. Even going back to the X-Men cartoon from the early 90s, how they tried so desperately to make it in Jim Lee's style, and it's just hard to bring that to life and still have the same quality that Jim Lee produces. So, probably the same thing with Michael Turner, because what a talent, man. God, wasn't he south of 40 when he died?
I think he was pretty young. I don't remember all the details, but yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, R.I.P. Michael Turner, great artist.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now I kind of got sidetracked here. What was I?
It's okay.
I was talking about, I don't know that I've ever seen an origin story for Kara or Supergirl quite play out the way that this one did, but it's an interesting take to me.
Yeah.
So I was definitely on board with that.
All right, my turn.
Sure.
Okay. So again, my memory was that it was fine. I didn't have strong feelings one way or the other, and I only remembered a couple of things from it. And so watching it again today, I was surprised how much I liked it. I really dug it. I don't know if it's because, this is 15 years later and we've gotten some really bad animated movies. And so this was like refreshing to go back closer to the beginning and see something like this. But yeah, I really thought this was great. I feel like I am mad at myself for not giving it more credit over the years and going back to it over the years, because I only watched it the one time. So yeah, I like the balance of Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, and Supergirl. I think they do a really nice job with that. I think the animation is stunning. I like how they took inspiration from Turner's artwork and then animated it. For me, I think it works really well. I don't think it's perfect. I have a couple nitpicks of my own, but they're pretty minor nitpicks. I thought this was excellent, and I don't remember it being excellent. So that was really fun. I was watching it and I'm like, damn, is this better than I remember? I think it might be. And I think part of that is, like you said, the voice cast of getting that mini reunion of at least the Trinity plus Ed Asner. I thought that was really cool. I think the story is very good. And yeah, like you said, I love that we start in Gotham, we go to Metropolis, we go to Themyscira, we go to Apocalypse, and then we wrap it all up in Smallville. So we get this nice tour of not just the Trinity themselves, but also their homes. And I think all that's balanced really well. I think the biggest thing working against this is the runtime, because there were a couple story points that I felt were a little underdeveloped. They're there, but I think they would have been fleshed out more if it was a little bit longer. But I think that just comes with the way it was done back then, which was 75 minutes. That's what you get. And so, yeah, there were some shortcuts that had to be made because of that. But aside from that, thought it was really good. And again, go back of appreciating Lauren Montgomery. I think that the action in this is outstanding.
I was going to save that for later, but since you addressed it, I think the action is actually the highest of high points in this entire movie, because there's not one action sequence that I don't at least appreciate the way it looks, even though one of them I have a really huge problem with.
I bet I know what it
Oh,
is.
I'm sure you do.
Now
It's
that
not going to surprise anybody. But
now that you say it, I was like, oh, I think I know where you're going with that. But yeah, the action sequences are incredibly well done. That was something that Laura Montgomery always did very well, because it wasn't just cool superhero action. It was also very inventive.
yes,
Like
yes,
like
there was nothing that I found. Oh, I've seen this before 2 dozen times. Everything
right.
was really well done, and yeah, as you say, inventive, creative, innovative. I mean, it just felt. I mean, just because it's fresh in my head, I just rewatched the John Wick movies a couple weeks ago, and I was thinking the same thing as I was watching this. It's like, yeah, we've seen plenty of it, and are the John Wick movies super deep in story? Typically not, but by God, when you watch those action sequences, they are such a blast, and that's
Mhm.
kind of what I was thinking as I was watching this movie. Is I may have a few issues here and there with it, and it's not the most amazing movie that I've seen in a DC lineup for animated stuff, but man, are those action scenes fun. And just piggybacking off of that, I think I've only watched the whole movie probably 4 times in the 15 years it's been out, and it's been a very long time since even the last viewing I had before I started watching it last night. I dozed off, and then I finished it off today. So uh, the one thing about this that I have watched probably at least 12 times is that final showdown in Smallville,
Mm-hmm.
because that is epic to me.
That is what I remembered most, was that final battle in Smallville. And
I
you're
think
right,
that's what
it's
everybody
awesome.
remembers most,
Yeah.
because the reel or whatever you want to call it on your Facebook feed or any of that, at least in mine, I can't speak for anybody else, but in mine, that thing pops up like once a week. So
Wow, that's interesting. So as I'm looking at the Wikipedia page, this says that it is a direct sequel to Batman Superman Public Enemies.
okay,
But I would have never guessed that. I
I
mean,
mean, it kind of makes sense, I
it's
suppose.
been it's been a while since I watched that one either. But I like, now I feel like I should watch them both just to see if that adds up. But that's what it says on Wikipedia, for what it's worth. But to go back to that final battle in Smallville, because we're jumping to the end because it's a Jamie episode.
That's right.
I like, the moment that sticks out when I'm talking about inventive action is when Supergirl is dodging the Omega beams and she loops back around. So they're following her back to Darkseid, and then she grabs Darkseid from behind and like flips him backwards, like a wrestling move. So the Omega beams hit him, and it's like that move. I was like, you could have done it in a more straightforward, lazier way, but the way she gets him from the behind and flips him was like so badass that I was like, okay, that's like really well done.
I co-sign that 100%.
And going back a little further, when we have Wonder Woman and Big Barda versus the Furies,
Also great.
which is another amazing sequence. The way,
Let me just interject right there. Having Barda included in this always put a smile on my face, because she's, to me, such an underrated character.
yeah, yeah,
I love Barda. I think she's fantastic. I love it when she opens the little closet and you see Mr. Miracle's outfit hanging in there with her stuff too.
yep.
That was a nice little thing. But having her be the guide, getting them back to Apocalypse, and dealing with her past in that, man, I thought that was another really high point in this movie.
I agree. I love that it's the Trinity and then plus Barda, which I thought was such a cool added element. But that's one of those story points that I like, okay, in a longer movie, they would have set her up earlier and a little better. Because in this, unless you're a DC fan, when they go to the door and it opens and it's Barda, if you're watching this cold, you're probably like, who the heck is that? But as a DC fan, I mean, they say her name earlier, but that's it. And that's one of those things where I was like, okay, in a longer movie, you might have seen her earlier, so that way when she comes back towards the end, it makes more sense. But again, I forgive that as a DC fan. I just love her inclusion in the story. Like you said, the Easter egg of her opening it and Mr. Miracle stuff is there too, I think is really fun. And I love one of my favorite moments that actually got me to laugh out loud, where Harley looked at me and was like, oh, is that funny? And I was like, yes, it's very funny. Where Barda goes, I'm coming with you, so get over it. And Batman goes, I'm over it. How about you guys? It was awesome.
Or even the conversation that she and Diana are having as they're walking through like the sewers or whatever that was. I
Yeah.
thought that was a really good moment too. And it maybe takes up 10 seconds of screen time, but I thought it was a nice character moment shared between those two.
Absolutely. Yeah, I really love that. And then yeah, them taking on the Furies. I think the Furies are awesome. They're badass. I don't know them very well, but they're cool adversaries in this. Um and that fight and what I was, what I originally was going to say, which we've now looped around, is when I don't know all the Furies names, sorry, but one of them has like the big long whip with the spikes at the end, and when Wonder Woman grabs it and steps on it and pulls her forward again, the action choreography is so well thought out and awesome, because of course Wonder Woman could do that because she works with a lasso, so she knows exactly how to take this girl down.
Sure.
So I love
And
that.
I don't know what that, if that even has a name where they can do that with the ropes or chains or cloth or whatever, but they always get it like wrapped up around the wrist, step on it, and then like they just twist it so they're shortening up the distance between the
Mhm.
opponent.
Yeah.
Like I've seen it in Jackie Chan movies, for example. I always am supremely entertained whenever I see it because it's just not a common thing that you see. So just having that little bit of it thrown in there was a good moment for me. I
Right.
really enjoyed that.
Yeah. Well, so Harley did watch the whole thing with me, bless her. The scene earlier on with the Furies when they take out Treasure, who was supposed to be their new captain. She's like, "What happened?" I was like, "Oh, they got her. It's okay," because she's there laying bleeding out, and Harley's like, "What happened?" I'm like, "Oh, nothing. It's okay. They beat her. They beat her in the fight. Let's move on." Otherwise, she watched the whole thing.
That's
But
pretty
yeah,
good though.
yeah. But I mean, again, they did a nice job of like setting up Granny Goodness and the Furies and everything. I always thought it was so funny and awesome that Ed Asner is the voice of Granny Goodness.
Oh, fantastic.
It's so funny, but like how cool. So yeah, getting him back was really neat too. So I think the story is really well done, and I also appreciate it was a really cool idea, and I guess you got to give the credit to Jeff Loeb of okay, Supergirl arrives on Earth at the same time Darkseid and Granny Goodness are looking for a new captain of their Furies, and they set their sights on Supergirl. Like I'm like that's I think a really interesting story of why they would be interested in her, and then it's up to Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman to go help her.
Sure. And it makes all the sense in the world to me that that would play like that. I
Yeah.
mean, and then there's even the moment where Granny says something to the effect, and I can't remember it verbatim, but she says, "Why are we chasing after this girl who fell to Earth when I have the ultimate Amazon right here in front of me that I can deliver to him?" You know,
Oh
that
yeah.
that was a solid moment too.
Well, yeah, because when they think they have won over Wonder Woman and Barda. Yeah, she says, "Oh, wait till Darkseid sees that I'm delivering the Amazon's greatest warrior." Thought that was cool. And also, again, like the story of like, okay, Supergirl is on Earth. She's trying to figure out her path. They know she's in danger, but they don't know why. So I love Wonder Woman and the Amazons going, well, then she's coming with us because she needs to learn how to use her powers. She needs to be trained, and it's the safest place for her. And I thought that was a very organic way to get Wonder Woman involved in the story.
I agree with that. I like the approach. I didn't like the execution. It felt a little forced to me that they were trying to do like a sneak attack to kidnap her and run off with her instead of just like Diana talking to Clark and or Bruce about the idea of it in the first place.
Yeah, that's fair. You feel like Wonder
I felt
Woman.
like that was a little.
I appreciated the misdirect element of like you think it's the Furies, but it's not. It's Wonder Woman and the Amazons. I think that was cool, but you're right. They have a history. Wonder Woman should have just been like, hey, by the way, Harbinger has been having visions, and the safest place for your cousin is with us. And
Mhm.
they could have worked it out amongst themselves.
Sure, but then we would have been short in another action sequence, I guess. And
Yeah.
there are plenty in this. There's certainly no shortage of it, but I don't feel like this one needed to be there. I guess is what I'm getting
No,
at.
I think that's fair. I mentioned Harbinger, very random DC character. Do you remember that there was a version of her in Arrow?
No.
Yeah, she was Diggle's wife or ex-wife, and she didn't have the powers, but her name was Layla, and her code name was Harbinger, and she worked for Argus.
Oh,
So
I never pieced that together, is
yeah,
because it was too non-associated, I guess.
Yeah, it was just kind of a fun nod that the Arrow team did. But anyway, that was the other element that I thought was a little undercooked because there just wasn't time for it. Was the friendship between Harbinger and Kara?
I
They
agree that
they
that had an emotional uh, way that it could have gone to make it. I'm not saying it was bad. Uh, I'm trying to non-eloquently say what you just said. So
yeah
there was a better version of that approach as well, I think.
yeah. I mean, they tell us they were best friends while Kara was on Paradise Island, and that's great. But we don't get to see it because there ain't time for it. Which so you just have to accept it.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about this over the years as we've talked about these DC movies. It's like we always complained. It's like, why can't you just give us 90 minutes? Because
Mhm.
another 10, 12 minutes of runtime here would have gone a long way to flesh a lot of this out, develop it a little bit better. And it can't cost you that much more to put 10 to 15 more minutes on a DVD. You know, it just can't.
Yeah,
And at least I wouldn't think it would. But now we've gotten to the point where we have these bloody 3-part, 4-hour long things, and
right.
it's too much. It's way too
Yep,
much.
yep.
It's like
It's
you get 75 minutes or you get 4 hours. There is no in between.
Yeah, no kidding. And I feel like um I think it was the Suicide Squad Hell to Pay. Does that sound right? Where that one was like 90 or 100 minutes and that one
Mhm.
I was like, "No, that one needed to be 75. That one was too
Yeah,
much."
exactly.
So
Yep.
it's like picking and choosing the right ones cuz honestly, this one it could have been 5 minutes and it would have helped patch up those smaller little nitpicks, which again, to me they're minor. I really dug the movie, so it's not that big a deal. But I just was like, oh, okay. Like, yes, that could have been more developed. That could have been set up better, but they just, there wasn't time for it. Um, to go back to the very beginning, I forgot how it opened in Gotham, and I really, really liked that because I just like being in Gotham. I like being in a stylized Gotham with blimps hovering over the city.
And an
Um,
explanation of the blimps basically being like surveillance drones.
yeah, yeah.
It's an interesting take.
And then you're right, like Batman on ready to go, and you get sort of caught up with the news broadcasts, and they're like, oh, and Batman hasn't been seen, so he's laying low, and immediately you see him right there on the job. I think Batman looks great in this. I love his look. It's sort of the silhouette of the Arkham games, but with the comic costume. But like, I like the ears, I like his shape, I like the bat symbol. So I was like, oh, at least Batman looks really cool in this. I like his bat boat that he had in this. I thought that was
Mhm.
cool. So yeah, like I really Batman has a nice strong role in this. He's certainly not the lead because it is much more based on Kara and Clark. Um, but I loved his arc and what he was doing as well, of him being like, I don't trust you until you show me I can trust you. And that was really cool too, because he had a nice arc through it where he was dubious of Kara because he's not, just because the capsule says it's the cousin doesn't make it true. And then by the end, when she, takes on the moniker of Supergirl and she arrives and she looks up at Batman and he just gives her that tiny smile, is like a really awesome moment, an awesome Batman moment where it's very subtle, but it's perfect of him being like, okay, now I know you're one of us.
Yes, exactly. And there was even a moment. Gosh, it was toward the beginning because it was kind of when they were first getting her involved with them, and like Crypto was growling like crazy at her.
Yes. Yeah. I mean,
And
we go
I
to the
can't
Fortress of
remember exactly
Solitude.
what Batman said, but he basically said maybe we should trust the dog or something like that.
Right. He said Crypto's always been a good judge of character. um, so yeah, no, I love that we go to the Fortress of Solitude as well. I think that's cool. And Crypto's in it. So Harley was excited about that. But yeah, I think that, yeah, the Batman arc in it is really good too. Him fighting giant wolves on Apocalypse, is a lot. It's probably not everybody's favorite. I was going with it, but yeah, it's crazy. I have no problem with Batman fighting supernatural enemies. I have no problem with Batman hanging out with the Justice League. But when I see him like on the ground in Apocalypse, I'm always like, is that air breathable? Or I guess it is. I guess I'm just gonna have to accept that it is. Um, so yeah, just a little bit of suspension of disbelief there.
I suppose. And he
Uh,
basically was riding around on Orion's rig too.
Yeah. But I appreciated that. Yeah, he was up there with them, and I love that. So sorry, I'm looking at the Wikipedia page, and it seemed like when this came out, some of the complaints about it was like, it's not really a Batman movie. And that's fair. But the Batman moments in it are really good. So I'm actually pretty satisfied. And I love that it's Batman instead of Superman, instead of Wonder Woman, instead of Barda. It's Batman who essentially brings Darkseid down with just his pure conviction and of being like, I'm not bluffing.
Yeah,
Trust me, I will do this. And Darkseid is like, okay, actually,
that's as
you
Batman
got
as it
me.
gets right there.
Yeah.
That whole exchange right there. And Darkseid was, slapping him around a little because let's face it, let's be realistic here. Batman's not going toe to toe, fist to fist with Darkseid. It's
No.
just not going to work. So Darkseid was, exerting his dominance in that measure, but Batman knew where he had him. And
Yeah.
Darkseid knew Batman knew it, so he was just making him suffer for it a little bit. So very strong moment for both of them, very in character for both of them for that to play out the way that it did. I really, really, really appreciated that.
Oh,
In
I
fact,
love.
I dare say, other than the final fight in Smallville, I think that's probably my next favorite thing in the movie.
Yeah, I forgot about it. It was awesome. I just love that Darkseid's like, you're bluffing, and he goes, "Oh, this is the code. Do you think I'm bluffing?" And then Darkseid thinks he can smack him around and get him to back down, and he realizes, oh, that's not how Batman works. Batman doesn't back down. And where he's like, and Darkseid even is like, I respect that because these other ones wouldn't do it, and you're the only one who would. So I thought that was badass.
Agreed.
All right, so I'm gonna take a swing in the dark and guess the part you didn't enjoy is the Army of Doomsdays.
That is 100% correct, my friend.
I think I know exactly where you're coming from. I had the same thought, but please go ahead.
So Doomsday was, to this day, Doomsday is still a very popular character. I still love Doomsday. I still think that was, a great story for its time, especially.
Yeah.
But what they've done over the years since, other than, the possible exception of Superman Doomsday Hunter Prey, which I think is a severely underrated story arc, they've really watered Doomsday down a lot. And the fact that Doomsday comes through this portal and you just kind of sit up and go, oh crap, Doomsday's going to wreak havoc in Themyscira. And then 400 Doomsdays come out of there and, they put up a fight, but, the Doomsdays are wreaking havoc. And then this is the moment that truly drives me nuts. When Superman says, all right, enough, and he flies up and he just pretty much vaporizes all of them with his heat vision.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That is such a cheap way to deal with Doomsdays, even if they're watered down clones of the original. And I get, they're obviously playing it as these aren't as powerful as the original and not going to be the problem that the original was. But why use Doomsdays for this? You could just put thousands of parademons to do this. You could do one Doomsday that is as powerful as the original, that Superman and the Amazons all have to fight together. I don't know. I had a problem with it because I just feel like it cheapens the legacy of Doomsday, however corny that may sound.
No, I totally hear where you're coming from. And I went through that same sort of range of emotions where when Doomsday emerges, you're like, oh shit, Doomsday's in this? How cool. And then it's like, oh no, it's 500 Doomsdays or whatever. It's a bunch of Doomsdays. You're like, oh, well, damn. And then that leads to a really awesome fight of Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, and the Amazons fighting Doomsdays, which was really cool. But then I'm like, man, they're having too easy a time with these Doomsdays. And then they sort of explained away of like, it's not Doomsday. It's, like you said, watered down clones to distract them while they abduct Supergirl elsewhere. And I'm like, okay, I can go with that. But I totally get where you're coming from as a Doomsday fan of being like, don't use Doomsday like that.
Again, if they're just running distractions so they can come in and snatch Kara out of there, why wouldn't 500 parademons do the same thing?
Yeah.
Even though they're not powerful and they're not formidable to one-on-one, fist to chin with Superman or probably even Batman, and certainly probably not the Amazonians either. They're just there to be a distraction. That's all they need to be. You
Yeah.
don't have to throw Doomsday in there for any other reason than you're trying to invoke that reaction from your fans that, Doomsday is a very recognizable character. And I just feel cheaped out by it. I don't know how else to say it.
No, I get that. I mean, when the fight was happening, which again I enjoyed, where Batman is taking out Doomsdays, I was like, Doomsday took out the entire Justice League plus Superman, and Batman can take him down with an axe. So I had the same reaction. So I get it. I was a little more forgiving of it once they sort of explained that it's not actually Doomsday. It was just the distraction. But I hear you. I got it. So yeah, I hear that as well. You also get, because Supergirl does spend some time in Apocalypse before they come together, we get evil Kara. And do you remember in the 80s, all the X books had a crossover called Inferno?
Oh yeah.
And
That's a pretty cool story, yeah.
And Madeline Pryor became like the Goblin Queen.
Yes.
Evil Supergirl, I just kept seeing the Goblin Queen from Inferno.
That checks out, my friend. I didn't piece that together myself, but now that you've said it, I'm like, yeah, he's right.
But I mean, I know that's a pretty niche, nerdy reference, but for those of you probably around our age who read comics in the 80s and 90s, maybe you get it. That aside, it's, I still think it's a cool look. She's been brainwashed, and they not only have to get her back, they also have to get her mind back too. So yeah, I thought it was worth mentioning because it's evil Kara who is on the original cover of this movie, not Supergirl.
I guess I didn't remember that.
It's only because I'm staring at it on the Wikipedia page. It's right there. And I was like, oh yeah, I remember that. And it was another thing that I remembered once it happened in the movie. So you mentioned it. This is one of my other nitpicks is as much as I love him as an actor and as much as I thought it was a smart choice, I don't think Andre Braugher is great as Darkseid.
Really?
Yeah.
I really like him as Darkseid.
Well, that's good. Like, I like him. I think he's great as an actor. I just feel like his voice is just a little too normal. And Darkseid, I expected it to be just a little more scary. And I just hear Andre Braugher. So maybe...
You know why you think Darkseid should be scarier? Because you and I are roughly the same age, and you remember the superpowers era of like Super Friends, and Darkseid had that almost demonic deep voice about him.
Yeah.
Like so Freddy Krueger sound like a falsetto kind of a thing.
Yeah, where he's like, "I'm Darkseid." Yes. Welcome
to that's why, because that's what we grew up with Darkseid sounding like.
I think that is probably part of it. But like I always liked Michael Ironside as Darkseid on Justice League. So yeah. But yeah, I don't know. It's just Andre Braugher is just, I mean, and he gives a good performance. There was just something about it that I found a little distracting.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I had no issue with it. I really enjoyed it.
I appreciated that he got top billing though. Good for him. When it started, it was like Andre Braugher. I was like, oh, well, okay.
Well, I questioned whether or not it was about the billing as it was
alphabetical.
They do each category of them in alphabetical order.
Yeah, because it was Andre Braugher, Kevin Conroy, Tim Daly. So yeah, it could have also just been alphabetical.
Or a hell of a coincidence, one or the other.
Yeah. But yeah, I love the cameo from Crypto. I like the Fortress of Solitude. I like the big. Oh, here's a question: do you think we're gonna get the big statues of Jor-El and Lara in the new movie?
Do I think we're gonna get them?
Yeah. Do you think we're gonna get them? Because when I saw them here, that's an element of the fortress that I've always enjoyed. We've never seen it in a movie, to my recollection, and I was like, I wonder if that's something we'll get to see.
Well, it sure seems like we should at some point. Like, I feel like in the past, all we pretty much had was holograms, right? We haven't really had like a stone or crystal statue of them.
I mean, if you think the zoo is going to be there.
Yeah, you're right.
It was just something that crossed my mind because when it happened, I was like, oh yeah, that's right. Like that's in a lot of versions. And I like it. I just think it's cool. And I just wonder if it's something we might see in the new movie.
I would probably bet more on it than I would against it at this point.
I mean,
again, John's roughly our age. So, I mean, the stuff we grew up with, the stuff he grew up with.
Right. So, and I
Yeah.
think it's I think I mentioned Batman has quite the arc. I like Superman's what he's going through of understanding that Kara is his only blood relative, so he wants to protect her. So he's a little blinded by just that level of protection. And
Hmm.
then Kara herself trying to figure out where does she fit in. She just got here. She doesn't know what she's supposed to be doing or where she fits in. And I appreciated that emotional arc for her because by the end, Clark even says he's like, I can't tell you that's got to be up to you. And that's what launches into that big final battle of Clark and Kara versus Darkseid. I appreciated Darkseid's loophole of being like, I said I said I wouldn't come after her. That doesn't mean I can't come after you.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I appreciated that. And then after all that was said and done, of Kara being like, okay, I think I understand. Like I didn't think I wanted to be anybody's champion, but I understand where we fit in and then embracing being Supergirl, which only happens in the final scene, but I think Supergirl looks awesome.
Well, I feel like that was earned at that point. It's
Oh
not like
yeah.
he was
Yeah.
trying to throw the S on her, in the first 10 minutes of the movie or anything. They built that up and they earned that payoff by the time the movie came around. So
Yeah.
is it a true Supergirl movie in that sense? Not exactly, but the payoff of her being there at the end with the costume and everything and flying around with him and even pulling the cape up over him as they're flying around. I thought that was just a wonderful sequence
I agree.
and very well earned.
I love the journey that she goes through to get to Supergirl at the end. And I like you said, I love the flying because the way Superman flies, it's very straightforward with purpose. And because she is younger, she's just learning, she's more playful. I appreciate that when she's flying next to him, she's having fun.
Mm-hmm.
And I just thought it was a really nice character choice of like, he knows what he's doing. For him, this is like walking down the street. For her, this is still fun. And you see that happening. And so my complaint is not a complaint, but it's I wish we would have gotten a real sequel to this because then we could have seen her be Supergirl and continue to learn more about that. But it didn't happen. Because when it was over, I was like, yes, I want to see what happens next.
Yeah, because this would have been about the point where they launched into like uh, Justice League War and Throne of Atlantis and all that stuff. It was more like the new
Mm,
52 ish kind of things.
mm.
Not very long after this.
I think, yeah, I think you're probably right. Is when they shifted gears to that. So
So one thing I definitely did want to call out because I thought it was one of the funnier moments in the film is when he's taking her like on the shopping spree through Metropolis and she's looking in the window of the store and she's kind of bent over a little bit and the guys are like walking by staring at her behind and Clark turns around and just gives him that look of like buddy, move along.
yes,
I had a huge appreciation for that. So
I know that was really funny. I did appreciate the shopping montage, although I thought the music was not fitting. Like the music was strangely slow and quiet, and I was like, this should be like the fun, upbeat shopping montage music. So I thought that was so weird, but it was still fun. And yeah, and also when she comes out with like a very skimpy outfit, and Clark is like, absolutely not, and she goes, perfect, then I'll take it.
yeah.
But yeah, that was really fun of her just starting to understand what it is to be on Earth. The other part that made me laugh was when they were on Themyscira and Clark is still like, you don't get to decide where Kara goes. She comes with me. And Wonder Woman is like, no, she needs to be here. And Superman turns to Batman and goes, she's really starting to tick me off or something like that. And I laughed out loud just because it was funny to watch Superman get annoyed with Wonder Woman.
Yeah. And then her telling him she heard that.
Yes, yes. And then, I mean, and that's the thing is it's called Superman Batman Apocalypse, but it's really a Trinity movie. And it is a Trinity movie where all the roles of the big three make a lot of sense as to why they would all be in this story together. So I was like, I thought it was a very satisfying Trinity movie.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Cool. All right. Favorite part, Jamie?
The Smallville showdown at the end. I mean, that fight, I don't know. I felt like the first couple times I watched it that it took up like the last half of the movie, like it just felt like it went on forever. And I don't say that as a detriment because you know me, the more action, the better because it entertains me. But that fight's what, maybe 6 or 8 minutes,
Mm-hmm.
which is still pretty long for a fight sequence. But yeah, definitely my favorite part.
Awesome. I asked you the question and I don't even know my own answer because there's a lot that I enjoyed, but I think I'm leaning towards like the stare off between Batman and Darkseid, just because it's so badass.
Yeah, that's like I said earlier. That's a not too distant second for me.
Yeah, and also it's my Batman bias, whatever. But I was just like, yeah, I just love that in a world with Superman and Wonder Woman, Batman's the one who gets him to back down. Um, least favorite part was for you. It was Doomsday.
It was the Doomsday thing, certainly.
Um, I would say, yeah, I think for me, it's probably if I'd had just a couple more minutes to develop those little plot points I mentioned. All right, well, why don't we give some final thoughts and a letter grade for Superman, Batman, Apocalypse? Unless there's something we skipped over that you want to bring up
I
now.
think I covered all the major beats I wanted to get in. I wanted to make sure I called out the Barda because again, Barda rocks.
I am so with you, and I knew you would be into that because I know that you love women over 6 feet.
Hell yeah.
As well you should.
I've been married to one for almost 25 years, so I better.
But yes, Barda is awesome, and it's so cool to see her get a large supporting role here. I was afraid she wasn't going to make it. Again, that's how little I remembered. Is I was like, oh god, does Barda get taken out? I
You
was
know what,
glad she
dude?
did.
Same. Because I was like, oh, tell me this isn't like Barda's, swan
Right,
song here.
right.
But then you really don't see her very much after that in the universe either. So maybe it was.
But she does have the badass moment where she's like, "Don't you surrender? They can kill me. It's fine." Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
I
Anyway,
mean, that was actually her using what they trained her to be against them. I really appreciated that too. So
or when Wonder Woman goes, "They're good," and Barda goes, "They should be. I trained them."
yes. Hey, we should just do an episode about Barda sometime because wow, she's awesome.
Yeah, she is.
But yeah, I think we covered all the major beats I wanted to, recognized everything I wanted to. I feel like there's a little bit of clunkiness here and there throughout the movie, whether it's dialogue related or uh, the Doomsday thing. I think is just piss weak. I just
Ooh,
I can't give any credit to that at
bringing
all because
back a classic with Piss Week.
it just bothers me, man. It just bothers the hell out of me that they want to cheapen up a character like that. Not that Doomsday's like the deepest character in the world, but I feel like he's more worthy than what they gave him here.
Mm.
But I feel like my opinion of this one has dipped a little bit today than it was maybe initially, but I still think it's a solid entry, and I really like way more than I don't about this one. And yeah, as we've discussed ad nauseum already, the action sequences are some of the best in this animated universe, in my opinion. So for my letter grade, I think I'm going to go with a B plus.
Oh, okay. I mean, yeah, like what a pleasant surprise because I always threw this in the it's fine pile, and I had a great time revisiting it. I had those little nitpicks, but in general, they're very minor because overall, I thought it was a really good movie. I we forget what we had 15 years ago because it's changed so much over as these animated movies have come out. I love the story. I love the animation. I definitely love the action. I think they use all the characters incredibly well. And yeah, it's just a rock solid, entertaining DC animated movie where you get the Trinity doing awesome things and protecting Karo as she comes into her own. And yeah, it's a good one, man. Like, I think way back when I would have probably given it a B, but now I'm at an A minus.
Same neighborhood then.
Very close. Yeah, it's very close. So Superman, Batman, Apocalypse, 15 years in September. Check that out. I didn't see if it was streaming. I should have checked. I'm sorry. I watched my digital copy that came with my Blu-ray 15 years ago. But yeah, so it's readily available, I'm sure. But yeah, this one I feel like almost is forgotten because I feel like I never hear anyone mention it, and I'm glad we got to revisit it today. It was good.
Make sure you watch that final fight sequence numerous times.
Yeah, it's pretty badass. So that is something very cool for you to watch, but I want to remind you of something very cool that you can listen to. So check this out.
DC High Volume, Batman. The Dark Knight's definitive DC Comics stories. Adapted directly for audio for the very first time.
Fear. I have to make them afraid.
He's got a motorcycle. Get after him or I'll have you shot.
You mean blow up the building?
From this moment on, none of you are safe.
New episodes every Wednesday, wherever you get your podcasts.
All right, more Batman goodness. And speaking of more Batman goodness, we watched another episode of The Batman. Jamie, we're getting awfully close to the end of season 3 of The Batman.
Are there 4 seasons or?
There are 5.
5. Okay.
Yeah. So last time was Cash for Toys. That means this one is The Apprentice, season 3, episode 10. This one was directed by Brandon Vietti, written by Stephen Melching, and it aired on February 11th of 2006. It's called The Apprentice because the Joker is in the market for a helper. He has this great scheme with the chili cook-off. Chili cook-offs happen so much in TV and movies. I've never been to a chili cook-off, but I would like to go to one.
Really?
Yeah, I would love that.
You grew up in the Midwest. How did you not grow up around this?
I don't know. They didn't have them where I was, I guess.
My church has one of these things once a year, man.
Well, then invite me. I'll come eat some chili. I like chili.
Sweet.
But Mayor Grange, voiced by the wonderful Adam West, he tastes some chili that does not agree with him, and it's all part of the Joker's big plan. Joker shows up. He's going to blow him away with a fire hose, but Batman and Batgirl show up to stop him. And he looks and he's like, see, look at that. It's got to be nice having a sidekick. Why don't I have a sidekick? I'm going to look for one. And Punch and Judy, his goons, they're like, what about us? And I love that he goes, you're not sidekicks, you're goons.
That might have been the highlight of the episode, actually.
It was funny. Because I thought the same thing. I'm like, well, do they count? And the episode knows they do not. At the same time, we meet a kid named Donnie who goes to school with Barbara, and he wants to be the class clown. Turns out he's very unfunny. And he goes to an open mic night. It doesn't go any better. But fortunately, Joker is in attendance, and he's like, this kid's got potential. So he takes Donnie under his wing and teaches him to be his sidekick. And he is going to become Prank. Now, here's something that I noticed, Jamie, that's kind of random. In this, the Joker's got a sidekick named Prank. Mm-hmm. In the 1990 Flash TV series, the Trickster had a sidekick named Prank.
Really?
Yeah. And now on Batwheels, the Joker's van is named Prank.
I notice a pattern here.
So there are a lot. Yes, there are a lot of silly sidekicks in DC named Prank. It's the go-to name. So this kid is like, yeah, sure. This will be fun. Great. So they plan a big event to cover police headquarters in giant gumballs. And so Batman and Batgirl again show up. Batgirl's a little annoyed that she still feels like she's on the outs, that Batman doesn't keep her in the plan and she's not official, which actually, not to jump ahead, it factors into the next episode too. So FYI, Batgirl's unhappiness with their relationship and Batman being like, no, I can't bring you in. And she even's like, hey, I heard you have a secret cave. Why can't we hang out there? And he goes, because then it wouldn't be a secret. So anyway, they show up to stop this gumball massacre. Prank is there in his new outfit. I like the outfit with the exception of the big pointy nose. If you lost the nose, I would dig it.
Yeah.
But he shows up and through the events, Batgirl ends up getting caught, getting strapped to the front of the gumball blaster, and Joker's like, my sidekick is going to kill your sidekick. And Donnie's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. I didn't say I kill people. I just want to be funny. And so he and Joker have it out. Batman saves Batgirl, and they manage to get Donnie, save him as well. Oh, Joker takes Donnie to Ace Chemicals, and he's going to dunk him. He's like, "Oh, I'm going to make you like me for real," which I thought was a very cool story moment of like, "Oh, I really want you to be like me, so I'm going to dunk you in the same chemicals that made me who I am." And that's where Batgirl and Batman manage to stop the Joker. Donnie switches sides. He knocks Joker out with the giant boxing glove. And so he realizes that, yeah, like, that's not the way to go. And Batman and Batgirl are like, you know what? Maybe we don't have it so bad. Maybe our relationship is okay. And that's The Apprentice. So, Jamie, thoughts on The Apprentice?
So I understand that we're watching a serialized show and they will pick up different story arcs at different times. But as much as they played on she's really trying to get in on this official sidekick with Batman thing and then not to pay it off by the end of the episode, I know you said maybe it comes in a little bit in the next one too.
Yeah, wait for the next episode. But yeah.
I don't know. At some point, I just want that to be a actual thing. But anyway, I thought this was a reasonably decent episode. But you mentioned the mask thing, because the whole time I was watching him on screen wearing that mask, all I could think of is, this is an animated version of Eyes Wide Shut now, or interesting concept. It's, you almost half expect it to be like a Harley Quinn sort of a thing, but then it just makes a little bit more sense that Joker is going to find somebody that he can kind of mold in his own image, versus Harley kind of comes into it a little bit more on her own accord.
Yeah.
Finding him at the comedy club and he's stinking it up was an interesting choice.
Been there. back in my stand-up days.
I just watched some of your stand-up. I think you're pretty good.
Oh, I got there, but I certainly had some rough sets. That's all part of the process.
The gumball thing, for some reason, amused me. I don't know why. That
me
just
too.
felt,
I dug it.
Classic, probably 60s, 70s Joker Batman kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I think he even made the comment, because when they're trying to decide what they're going to do and then they settle on the gum, and he says something about like tying them up to giant playing cars, and Joker's like, been there, done that. That sort of reference to classic stuff will always kind of amuse me. But I thought it was a decent episode. I watched what was the last one? The Cash Tankerton.
Cash for Toys. Yeah. Cash Tankinson.
I was not with that episode. I watched it. Wow.
Too silly?
A little bit, yeah. I like Patrick Warburton and all, but man, that was a tough one.
Yeah,
this one was a pretty good recovery.
All right, good. So yeah, I think we see eye to eye on this one. I really liked it. I didn't love it. It's not the best, but it was better than I expected. Once I realized where it was going, I was like, oh, I don't know about Mini Joker, but it was better than I thought, and I really liked that they used. I think it's a very Joker thing to watch Batman with Robin or Batgirl and go, hey, I want one too. That just to me seems like a Joker thing, and him going out recruiting is funny. And then using that to reflect the dynamic, no pun intended, between Batman and Batgirl, I thought was smart. So I enjoyed it. And like I said, I liked this prank. Once you lose the nose, I thought his outfit was pretty cool. And then I appreciated that he's a teenager, and when things get real, he's like, whoa, no, I'm not killing people. You didn't tell me that. So yeah, overall, I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, what would you give it for a letter grade?
I give this one a B.
All right. I hate to do this to you, but I was going to give it a B plus.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I know
we
you
all
said
know you're more positive than I am anyway, Andy.
Well, yeah, but you're always like, oh, you always got to one up me. Got to do one more. But yeah, I thought it was actually pretty good. All right, well, that's The Apprentice. Next one up is called Thunder. Feel the thunder. Feel the thunder. And that will give you the resolution you're looking for, James.
Does that mean Batman's fighting a guy that keeps a lightsaber on his bracelet and kind of hangs out with a Chewbacca looking dude? Or
Yes, that's exactly what it means.
Boy, if you caught that one, you're definitely north of 40. That's all I'm saying.
All right. So that's next time. We're trucking along on these, and I'm very, very proud of us. But it's not time to say goodbye just yet. We have to check in with you fine feathered finks and crack open the Wayne Manor mailbox. It's time again for the Wayne Manor mailbox.
You've got mail.
What is a letter for me?
Maybe temporary.
She wrote a letter.
You're one hell of a messenger. This is all, Master Wayne.
All right. First message here is from our old pal Chris, the Objective Geek. And he says, "Hey, Holy BatCast crew, I've watched the Superman trailer 20 or so times, and it's got my hype and thinking about other great DC trailers. So what are your top 5-ish DC trailers for film, TV, or video games? Mine would be number 1, the Man of Steel trailer 3, which I consider the best trailer of all time. Number 2, Batman Arkham Knight, The Last Will of Thomas Wayne. Number 3, DC Universe. Number 4, BVS, where Bruce is running into danger. Number 5, The Dark Knight Rises, Kick Return. Keep up the great work, or don't. I'm not your boss." Okay, thanks, Chris. Very cool. I think that I am going to make a huge assumption and say that Jamie and I agree with you about Man of Steel trailer 3.
Yeah, 100%. I don't know if I think it's the greatest trailer of all time, but it's certainly in the conversation, and it's certainly the best DC trailer of all time.
Yeah, it's so damn good. I am with you. Man of Steel trailer 3, amazing.
I still remember Guy Milks doing that trailer episode, and I can't remember exactly how he worded it now, but it was something to the effect of, he doesn't say kneel before Zod, but you want to because he's freaking terrifying.
Yeah, yep.
God, that was so good.
Agreed. So that's definitely up there. Any other DC trailers that jump to mind as favorites, Jamie?
Gosh, the original Batman '89 trailer without the music or anything. I mean, only because at that age, that trailer got me so hyped up for that movie, it was ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Let me think here.
Well, I'll just jump on
Justice League. I mean, love the movie or hate it. Those trailers had me beyond hyped because I'd waited my entire life for a Justice League movie.
Yeah.
And those trailers I thought were actually quite good.
Yeah.
Love or hate the finished product.
I will say the first Batman Returns trailer I saw blew my mind. That was the one that we rented Curly Sue, and the trailer was on the Curly Sue VHS, and I taped it off the Curly Sue VHS. So I had it and I watched it over and over and over again until the movie came out. So that one, it is partly, of course, a nostalgic choice, but oh my God, I could not freaking wait. And that trailer was a big part of that.
That was for Returns, you said, right?
Yeah, for Batman Returns. I would say the Dark Knight trailer. The first true trailer that ended with the flipping of the semi. That trailer was amazing.
The first Batman Begins trailer I can remember seeing, because I didn't even know it was a Batman trailer until like almost halfway through it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'd have to put a lot more thought into this to do proper rankings, but I can promise you this, no matter what, the Man of Steel was coming out on top. So,
yeah. I mean, now I'll also agree with Chris on that BVS trailer, the one where you see Bruce running into the cloud. Mm-hmm. That was like the first full BVS trailer. That one had us our minds blown. That was awesome.
Well, I mean, even though I don't appreciate the story beats being given the way that they were, I guess this trailer might have been the after that fact. Basically the one that had a good portion of the Martha rescue in it.
That was the final trailer. That was the one they released after the Doomsday trailer was not as well received.
That was kind of the damage control trailer.
Yep. Yeah.
Well, regardless, it was a great trailer because watching that fight for the first time was pretty epic.
Hell yeah. Well, the Suicide Squad trailer set to Bohemian Rhapsody. That was awesome.
Yeah, that was a good one. Yeah.
It was so good that it helped ruin the movie. because the legend is, I don't know if this has ever been confirmed, but the legend is that the studio then hired that trailer firm to edit the movie because the trailer was so well received.
Really?
Yeah, you never heard that?
No.
Yeah, again, I don't know if it was ever confirmed, but that's the story, is that because that trailer was so well received, they're like, well, the movie needs to feel more like that trailer, and so they hired the trailer firm to actually edit the movie, and that's the one that you saw in theaters.
All right then.
And now you know. So those are the ones that spring to mind, at least. Again, I'm sure there are others that I'm not thinking of. Like Justice League, yes, those trailers had me hyped, but I can't remember which one I would call the best. I would have to go rewatch them all. But yeah, trailers are fun. I think we all agree Man of Steel trailer 3 is the winner.
Yeah, I'm down with that 100%.
Cool. All right. Next email is from Dill Dietz. It says, what's up, guys? It's the summer of Superman, so I'll be the guy and ask a couple of Bat questions. It seems with every Batman movie, there's an initial response, then it gets devalued. Eventually, opinions settle, and then there's a general consensus. So Batman 89 was massive. It was eventually considered inferior during the peak of the Nolan trilogy and is now considered a classic. Batman Returns was controversial upon release, but now it's taken a respected place next to Batman 89. Even Batman Forever has been reconsidered, and most feel it deserves more credit than it's been given. Batman and Robin has and will always be mind-blowing that it exists at all. Now, the Nolan movies are too old to be cool, yet too new to be nostalgic, and there's been a lot of Dark Knight trilogy slander in the fan community recently, especially in comparison to Pattinson. After the dust settles, how do you think the Nolan trilogy will be held in public opinion? How about BVS? Second, the Schumacher cut is getting 2 showings in LA on May 29th. Have you guys heard of the screening, and will anyone be attending? It'd be awesome to hear a breakdown of the cut. So thank you for the great podcast, Dill. Thank you, Dill. Well, I'll address that last one first. Yes, they were going to screen the Schumacher cut, and they publicized it, and they advertised it, and they got a cease and desist from Warner Brothers, and so now they're not doing it.
You're kidding me.
Nope. So nobody's going to those because they're not happening anymore. I mean,
do you feel like maybe they have plans to get it out by the end of the year for the anniversary, or are they just being nasty with taking their toys and going home here?
We haven't heard a single rumbling, so I'm not holding out hope, but I can't blame them. Like, you can't publicize a screening of a bootleg. You just can't do that. And so I was shocked when this was initially announced, where I was like, how are they getting away with it? And the answer is they're not. So as much as I would want to see it, I'm not surprised. And I don't even blame WB for being like, yeah, you can't show a bootleg of our movie publicly and charge admission. So
I guess.
So that's not happening.
It's one of those things I'm really wanting to see that version. So I'm kind of, shame on WB for being stingy about this, but at the same time, business-wise, I completely understand what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, agreed. I want to see it too, which is why the right answer should be WB releasing a version that we can buy so they can take our money.
Yeah, monetize this shit, guys. What's the matter with you? Isn't that what you're in business for?
Right. If we want to give you money for it, let us.
Well, think about the rousing success that Zack Snyder's Justice League was on HBO Max.
Yeah.
HBO Max needs content, right? Hello.
Well, and we went back and forth a little bit with like Brendan, Joe, and Eric about this, and maybe you missed it. I think it was Joe was like, yeah, but how did Kevin Smith get away with it? And it's like Kevin Smith never said they were watching it. He never advertised Batman Forever. He had plausible deniability. He said, hey, come to this event where we're showing the Clerks animated series in full, and if you stay late, maybe we'll all watch a movie together. That's what he said. We all could read between the lines, but he was smart enough to not go, come to this event and you'll get to see the Schumacher cut of Batman Forever. So
Kevin Smith
anyway,
is a lot of things, but stupid is not one of them.
Yeah. So I still want to see it, but again, I'm not shocked. It was a bit naive for whoever was trying to do this to do it. Anyway, I think Dill brings up a very interesting point. And I think it's true, is that movies, post-release, they kind of go through this cycle of they're huge hits, and then maybe the popularity dips or whatever, and then it sort of settles into where it should. I think about a movie like Independence Day, which is not Batman, but like when that movie came out, it was like the biggest movie of the summer. It was this massive hit. Everybody loved it. And then I feel like a few years later, everyone's like, that movie's so stupid. And now nostalgia has taken hold and people are like, yeah, it's stupid, but God, it's fun. And I like Independence Day.
My opinion has never wavered on that film. I came into the world loving that movie in 1996, was it?
Yeah.
And I've never ceased to love it since. So.
Well, that's good. But again, it's an example. I remember the backlash a couple of years later, right?
Yeah, I get what you're saying. There absolutely was, even to an extent, like Armageddon kind of went through that, because Armageddon, people were kind of like chattering and talking about, and then people were like, oh, the terrible and science and all this other shit. And, eventually the negativity of it just kind of goes away. I don't know if Armageddon's quite reached that point yet. But.
I don't think, but I mean, but that's fair. And so I completely agree with what Dill said, especially about like the Burton movies. Is they were huge when they came out. Returns was still huge despite the it's not for kids controversy. It still was a huge hit. It was still the biggest movie of 1992. But then, yes, during the Nolan years, people were like, Burton, this is real Batman. Burton's never got it. And then now it's been long enough that everyone's like, no, it has its place. And those movies are great for what they are. And, eventually we get there. So I totally get Dill's point. And I agree with you about the Nolan trilogy. I think that we've discussed that before, is like, yeah, it's in a weird place right now where it's too recent to be nostalgic, but it's too old to be cool. And so it's sort of in this hibernation, if you will. But two of those movies are masterpieces, and the third one is really damn good, in my opinion. And so I think that is where things will settle, is that, I mean, I don't think everyone has poo-pooed The Dark Knight. I guess maybe a little bit. But
I don't think anybody's gotten to a point where they're poo-pooing it. I think the ones that are doing it are the ones that tried to do it from the beginning. But there's so much overwhelming positivity from most people about it that we just don't even pay attention to it.
Yeah, I feel like The Dark Knight is still considered the bar, because how many times have we heard best DC movie since The Dark Knight? Like, where it stops meaning anything. So I think that The Dark Knight, its place in history is very safe. And I think that Begins is right there behind it. But you're right, like they're sort of in the background right now. But I think that after all is said and done, people will appreciate those movies for what they are, which is great Batman movies. And I think that's okay.
Yeah. Again, my opinion on those has never faltered one bit, not one of the three. And I've definitely seen people try and, discredit them or call them overrated or overhyped or whatever. But 10 years from now, it's going to be interesting to see what general public consensus is. Because, again, I don't feel like there's a lot of people that feel that way. It's just, sometimes the loud minority or whatever you want to call it.
Sure. Mm-hmm. And then what do you think about BVS? Do you think, what do you think its legacy will be?
I really think that already in the span of the last, not quite 10 years now, 9 years, I guess it is. I think it's already starting to cement its place, that the movie got an unfair shake initially. I really think people they started coming around on it several years back. Even people that were staunch haters of it, some people still hate it. Some people still preferred some other version of it or whatever. But I also feel like there's a lot of people that were kind of like, I don't know what to think about it. Really come to the side of the fence. We're like, yeah, that's actually a really good movie.
Interesting. I feel like,
keep in mind, I also spend way less time on social media than I used to. So maybe I'm a little, sunshine and roses on this one.
Yeah. I feel like BVS, people made their opinions in 2016, and I haven't really seen many people change them. I feel like that's kind of still the same. I still think it's very divisive amongst fans. You got love it, you got hate it. There's very little of it was okay. And I feel like that's been consistent. So my hunch is it will stay consistent. Like I haven't seen people coming around to it and being like, you know what, I hated it, but now I kind of like it. I don't think I've seen a lot of that.
Yeah, you're probably right. And let me just say this. I know there's a lot of people out there that think that is like the pinnacle or the masterpiece. And, great, more power to you. I think it's a great movie. I love it, but I don't have it up that high. But let me just throw this perspective out for you. As you all know, you've heard me say countless times on this show and other places, The Dark Knight is not only my favorite DC movie, it's not only my favorite Batman movie, it is my favorite movie of all time.
Well, that's stupid because it's overrated, and I don't know
Well,
how you
be
can
that
like
as it
it.
may,
Yeah, it's not very good.
the perspective I go into it with is at some point, I would really like to see a Batman movie that I like more than The Dark Knight. And why wouldn't I want that? Because that just
Yeah.
means that stuff is getting better and getting better and getting better and getting better. Why would you not want that? Why do you want to be stuck at a point? Not that I have any objection to this movie at this point, however many years it's been now. I can't even do the math in my head. 17 years?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Which sounds crazy to even say out loud, but why would you not want a movie that you like better than BVS? Why would you not want a movie you like better than Batman 89? Whatever your favorite Batman movie is or what have you, why would you not want one to be better at some point? Because I would love to see a movie that I loved more than The Dark Knight. Because you know what that means? Now I have two Batman movies that I can love on that level. That would be freaking amazing. So I understand wanting to defend your love and all that stuff for a movie because I'll defend The Dark Knight till my dying breath. But yes, I would like to watch a Batman movie that I like more than The Dark Knight.
Yeah.
I know that sounds crazy, but maybe just keep that perspective in your mind.
Yeah, that's fair. That's a good point. Cool. All right. Well, next email is from our old pal Tom Fallows. It says, "Hey guys, I know you guys are horror fans and with spooky season, and there is a horror element to Batman. So I was wondering, given the different subgenres of horror, which villains would you use for each subgenre?" And then he's got a bunch of subgenres here like monsters, slashers, psychological, body horror, zombie, sci-fi horror, occult, virus. It says, "Anyway, guys, have fun and can't wait for your next episode, Tom Pellos." Thanks, Tom. Well, it's going to be off the cuff, so you're going to get what you get. Some of them are easy.
So make sure I'm clear on the matter. We're selecting a Batman villain for the subgenre theme of the movie. Is that what we're doing?
For the subgenre of horror.
Gotcha.
So monster, like that's one of the subgenres. Which Batman villain would fit into the monster subgenre?
My brain. I'm just going to do this like a Rorschach test. My brain went straight to Man-Bat.
Same. Yep, Man-Bat. Slasher.
Zaz.
Oh, that's a good one. I went with Professor Pig.
Oh, that works.
But Zaz is perfect. Psychological.
Scarecrow.
Ooh, yeah. I was gonna say Riddler, but I think I might like Scarecrow better.
Riddler works too.
Yeah, they both work. Riddler and Scarecrow. Body horror.
Clayface.
Yeah, Clayface. By the way, did you see that Mike Flanagan said that his Clayface script is inspired by Feet of Clay from Batman the Animated Series?
I did not.
Yeah, that was just like yesterday. And I was like, hell yes, that's really exciting. Anyway, zombie. I feel like there's one real obvious one.
Solomon Grundy?
Yeah, like Solomon Grundy, right? Sci-fi horror.
My brain went straight to Darkseid, but I don't know if that quite pans out as a Batman villain.
Yeah. That one is trickier because you're right. Like when you think of like sci-fi aliens, you don't think Batman. I'm thinking like Ink from Batman Beyond because that feels.
Yeah.
I mean, because of like the main Batman Rogues Gallery, nobody jumps out as sci-fi. Maybe Mr. Freeze.
I was going to say, as soon as you said that, I was like, Mr. Freeze kind of.
Mr. Freeze.
So we'll go with Mr. Freeze. Yeah.
Occult.
God, what was his name? Deacon. The Batman the Cult. I can't remember the villain's name.
Oh, I can't either.
You know who I'm talking about, though.
I think so. Yep, I think so. Occult. No one else jumps. There's oh my god. There's another one that I'm thinking of. He was in the Batman Cape Crusader, the Gentleman Ghost episode. He's kind of like Dr. Facilier.
Guy?
Yeah, he's like the voodoo guy, but I can't remember his name. That's what
Midnight or something.
That sounds right.
Like it's not exactly that, but it's along those lines.
Right. Papa Midnight. There it is.
Okay.
In the comics, Linton Midnight is also known as Papa Midnight. There you go. There's a long way to go for your occult choice, but I can't think of anybody else for that like fits for occult. And maybe I'll think of it after, but right now I can't. Virus horror. Anyone jump to mind?
My brain went to Bane, even though I know that doesn't quite line up because Venom isn't really a virus.
Yeah, I Poison Ivy because she can spread things with spores
that kind of works,
such. Yeah. Maybe, yeah. What's crazy is with all these, there's no Joker. We didn't pick. I think Joker could also go with Slasher.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Depending on which version of Joker you're doing. Right. Definitely the one from Dark Knight Returns fits in that category.
Yeah. So anyway, it's a fun question. Kept us on our toes. We did the best we could. I hope that worked. All right. I got one last email here from David and says, Dear Holy BatCast, I got a question. I'm about to listen to the spoiler section of the Batman Resurrection review episode. So the Resurrection part of the book title on the cover I found looks familiar. Would you agree that while the Batman part of the title uses the same font as the movie poster for Batman 1989, the word resurrection is using the same font as Batman Returns? I thought it would make for a great idea for a book that bridges the two films. Huh. And he very conveniently put pictures of both here. So I think you're right. It's really close. So yeah, like Batman Resurrection, the Batman part is obviously from the movie poster of Batman. But Resurrection, it does look very similar to the font from Batman Returns. I did not pick up on it. Great observation.
I'm pulling up an image of it right now. Bear with me.
All right. Please continue.
Yeah, I think you can make a case for that.
Yeah, I wouldn't have noticed myself, but I totally see that. So very cool. Awesome. All right. Well, there you go. I'm going to close the Wayne Manor mailbox. There are still some for next time, but you're just going to have to tune in next time to hear those. If you've got something for the Wayne Manor mailbox, you can send that to holybatcast@rf4rm.com. But that will do it for this episode, Jamie. Thanks for taking some time to talk some Batman, some Superman, a little bit of Wonder Woman, a little bit of Supergirl. Because remember, Supergirl's going to be in Superman, we think. And we haven't seen a glimpse of her. So that'll be interesting too. Anyway, lots of DC goodness to chat today, and glad you were able to join.
And let's not forget about Barda too.
And most importantly, Big Barda. And Mr. Miracle's PJs. Anyway, thanks for joining. Anywhere that people can find you these days?
Periodically lurking around the Real Fans groups, Letterboxd. That's pretty much my social media footprint these days.
Nothing wrong with that. Very cool. I already told you guys where to find me. It doesn't change. But thank you for joining us. Thanks for downloading or streaming the show. Please do follow or subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, and rate and review us. That's something you can do to support us. It doesn't cost a penny. It just takes like a minute of your day. A 5-star review would be awesome. It would make us feel good, and it does help us out. So we would love that. Again, find the show on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Just search for Holy BatCast. If you've got something for the Wayne Manor mailbox, that email address again is holybatcast@rf4rm.com. A big thank you to Gora Venkateswar. He creates our theme music, and he's really good at what he does. You can find his work at gvtunes.com. And that will do it. On behalf of Jamie, I've been Andy. We'll see you next time. Same bat time, same bat channel. Holy BatCast is not affiliated with Warner Brothers or DC Entertainment. The views and opinions shared by the participants are theirs and theirs alone and do not represent the companies or organizations they happen to work for. Oh, hello.
With the candle.
Guess what? It's not lit, so you have no candle to blow out. Yeah. Do you want to say hi to Jamie? Oh, she's mesmerized by the Fortress of Solitude. That's where Superman lives. Is that cool? Yeah. Do you see Crypto? Do you see Crypto? Right up there. Right up there. He's flying. Yep.
What's that?
Yeah.
Where's Superman?
It's Superman. That's Superman's house.
Superman house.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Daddy.
Ugh. Do you want to say hi, Jamie?
Yeah. I do hi. It's a car.
Yep. Who is that?
It's Bam.
It's Bam. Bam from Bat Wheels.
Would she go? Would she want to go in brown?
Mm-hmm.
And it got go. And it got go.
Okay. All right. Do you want to say bye-bye? Mommy's here. Okay, love you.
Hi, Catherine.